In this section, we will look at digging deeper into Ember. We will start by having a look at initializers to be able to add boot time configuration to our application, and then we will have a look at the Ember run loop to effectively batch tasks in Ember. Lastly, we will have a look at fast boot to enable server-side rendering for our Ember applications. Let us get started with initializers in Ember. In this video, we will explore the difference between application and application instance, and then we will create initializers, and we will also look at dependency injection. We will start by generating a new Ember application, and then let us generate a few routes for our application. And then in our application.hvs template, let us add links to the new routes that we have created. And some sample content to our templates. Now that we have our routes in order, let us boot our application. Now that we have our application running, let us try creating a current user service. We will now create a service called current user. And then in our application template, we will provide a form for the user to be able to enter their information. And we will define an action to set the new user. And for this, let us generate an application controller. Then in our application controller, we will define the set user action, which will fetch an instance of the current user service and call the set user method on it and pass in the value of new user that is defined on the input. We also need to inject the current user service, and to do that we need to import inject as service from Ember/service. Then we will visit our current user service and define the set user method, which will set the name variable to the parameter name that is passed, and let us also define name to be null initially. We need to then restart our application, and then when we load our application, we are presented with an input to enter the name, and now we see that the application displays the information with the name that I entered. The reason that current service username is available across all our routes is because it has been injected as a dependency on application controller, and that is achieved by importing the inject as service method from Ember/service. This works well if we want to inject a service onto only a single controller, but to be able to make this service accessible across all our routes, it can be advisable to inject it using an initializer. So let us try that out. We will generate an initializer called current user, and inside this initializer, let us inject the service current user into all our controllers. The second parameter refers to the named property on the controller, so we can call that to be just user. and then we can directly use the user service in our controllers. So we could do something like this .get user .set user instead of this .get current user, and then we no longer need to import the injection. Similarly, in our application.hps template, we can do something like user.name. Also, to see that it works across all our templates, we can ensure that we add the text of the user service to all our roots. So we can do something like about user.name, as well as for contact we could put the user.name in this template. And then when we open our application and we enter our name in, we see that the application works as before, and it displays the information about the user on each page that is injected via the initializer. Ember also has support to create instance initializers. So we could type something like Ember generate instance initializer. Let's call it active user. And inside our active user initializer, we would do pretty much the same thing as before. We would inject onto our controller the current user service. And then let's not use the original initializer. And then we restart our server. And if we try to work our application, we see that it works as expected, as before. It is important to note the difference between an application and application instance in terms of Ember. Application refers to the definition of our application, and application instance refers to the object that handles the statefulness of the application. Although in the browser it would be a single instance created from a single application, in the test setup it would normally be a single application from which a single instance is generated for every test. We will build on this concept further as we explore fastboot. Thus, we have seen how to create initializers as well as instance initializers in our application.